Hey everyone. So I want to give you guys a little information about my first IUI cycle. This month is November with the starting of my period. Just about I started seeing a new RE. So with what we found out with that appointment, with him looking over a baseline ultrasound, pretty much because we were anticipating wanting to do some cycles of IUI. He, did my ultrasound, and we were pretty shocked with what we came up with. He was a little bit concerned with how how my ovaries could be looking, with the information I gave him about our previous IVF cycle that we did at the beginning of the year, and that with the pretty much the chemo agent that they used to help degrade the tissue from the products of conception and everything. He was a little bit worried about my ovarian reserve, and that it was probably depleted a great deal more than even it was prior, how it was last year when I had my last AMH. So he did the ultrasound, and like I said, that was like cycle day 26 or 27 when I first saw him, and all he could see was 3 antral follicles on my left ovary. He couldn't see anything at all on my right, which for me was, of course, quite shocking and a little bit devastating. Once I saw that he was concerned about the use of, or how much, the dosage of how much of the chemo agent they gave me, that's when, I started to get a little anxious about it. And of course that confirmed his suspicions once we did the baseline ultrasound. And so then he just said, just wait for my period to start, and then just to come back on cycle day 3 to do another ultrasound to see where I was, and then we move forward from there. So that's what we did. Went back on cycle day 3, and they saw 2 developing follicles on my left ovary, and surprisingly I had 2 on my right. Again, which is better, but it's still terrible, because back the beginning of the year, when I had a baseline ultrasound done, I started out with somewhere between, I want to say it was 15 or 20 antral follicles between both of my ovaries. So that is a significant decline from where I was. And obviously, him and I both agreed that that's what attributed to probably the decline, and how many antral follicles I had was the chemo. So with that being said, I went ahead and still just was like, well, we're still not at a position where we're able to financially move forward with doing more in vitro. We wanted to still just go ahead and try some cycles of IUI, kind of why I guess we're in limbo, waiting to see where we'll go when it comes to doing the in vitro. So from there, he started me taking the Femara or Letrozole. I started taking that on cycle day 3. Started out with a 2.5 milligram dose that first day, and then each of those subsequent days I took a higher dose, to where pretty much like I was adding a pill every day up through cycle day 7. So on the 7th day I ended up taking 5 pills total. So it went from 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Probably about maybe cycle day 6, maybe, of sorts, I think I started feeling a little bit of like uncomfortable type pressure in my ovaries, which for me is kind of a good thing, or anybody that's experienced using any kind of stimming medications, because that signifies something's growing or expanding in there. Hopefully it's actually good follicle growth and not any nasty cyst or anything. So today, like I said, I am cycle day 9, and tomorrow I am scheduled to go in the morning to have the HSG done, which is just a x-ray ultrasound type test where they use dye and inject it into your uterus just to make sure that your fallopian tubes are open and patent and all that, so that the sperm and egg are able to meet and, you know, travel down so the embryo can hopefully burrow in. I am a little bit worried about it, to be quite honest. I've had the SIS, the pretty much like the saline ultrasound done at the beginning of the year for my IVF cycle, and just as that sounds, it's just where they inject just pure saline, which is like, you know, a water solution into your uterus, where they're pretty much just checking like for structures to make sure there's no other like obstructions really in the uterus itself, so that would inhibit the implantation of any embryos that they would transfer. That one doesn't check for the actual patency of the tubes themselves. Well, with the SIS, I experienced a lot of uncomfortable pressure. I mean, it was like to the point where like I was blowing like into my hand, like I was having contractions, you know, like when you're like if you're in labor or something. That's, I guess, what I could equate it to, even though I've never been in labor myself. But that's pretty much what it felt like. It was a lot of intense pressure. So I'm a little bit worried about it. I've seen some people say that they have a lot of cramping when they have the HSG done, and that maybe it didn't last that long and then it subsided really quick, which I'm hoping, if anything, that's how it'll be with me. It just, you know, adds just another level of anxiety to just the whole process itself, that, you know, nobody really needs any extra stress or worry when it comes to dealing with all this foolishness related to infertility itself. So hopefully tomorrow too, I'll have good follicle growth, since it'll be cycle day 10, and maybe we'll have 1 or 2 really good promising looking follicles, and from there they'll be able to estimate if they want me to come back again and then have another ultrasound done, or if they'll have a better estimation for when they expect for me to give myself the trigger shot, which I'll be using Ovidrel. I also have a video actually already posted about when I received that in the mail. So I already have that shot ready to go. So whenever they say that they want me to trigger, I'll, you know, do that, and we'll move forward with scheduling the insemination. Usually it's scheduled about 36, hours after I give myself the trigger shot. So once I have my appointment tomorrow, I'll be able to give you guys a little update about what happened there, what kind of follicle growth we see, and, where we plan on moving, what the next step will be from there. And hopefully, like I said, it'll all be good news that, I'll be able to share with you. So you guys stay tuned. Make sure you comment down below and let me know how your IUI cycles that you've done have been and what your experience has been with Femara. If you have anything to offer in that respect, I'd be more than happy to hear it, or to read about it rather. So until then, I will see you guys later.